Hello, wrestling friends. I'm Matt Kuhn, which means you're listening to FTR with Dax Harwood. Dax Harwood, what? You got a background over there. That's a brand new setup you got over there.
Yeah, thanks to my wife, I actually am kind of stylish, I guess. I wish I could show you everything, and maybe I can, but this is my new, we moved into a house at the beginning of September, and it's been a process. It was a house that we had to remodel a little bit, and there was some, it was made, the house was built in 1926. So it's a pretty old house, but the foundation's incredible. The structure's incredible. And it's my wife's dream home. It's a colonial, like I said, 1926 colonial home. But we have a basement here, and we have decided to turn our basement into, well, part of our basement. This part is my part. It's the bar of our basement. And I've got a few of my accolades, as you can see over here. And, she ordered me this sign. She said it would be good marketing, but I think I need to bring the sign down a little bit because it's way too tall. So I'll have to do that for next week's show.
Yeah, it's basically like the logo for our show for those not listening or for those not watching.
There we go. Yes.
There's a lot of stuff going on. You got those belts back there, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Let's see if I can move this without fucking up anything. But yeah, we got the PWI award for Tag Team of the Year. Right under it is the magazine where Cash and I were ranked the first ever #1 tag team PWI rankings for the year 2020. Yeah, we've got all of our little
all the belts.
Chips. And if I can keep going, there's that. Yeah, so it's a little setup down here, and I would turn it all the way around for the bar, but maybe another day. I was thinking, we've decided to kind of work together on our Instagram social media. I was thinking of, well, not me, my wife was thinking I should take the fans through a virtual tour of the bar and show all the pieces that I have. Like I have my trunks from all my gear from Toronto, Takeover Toronto, the 2 out of 3 falls. I've got the gear from what we're watching today, Takeover Brooklyn. I've got the gear from our first AAA match. So I've got all this stuff that I've kept over the years, sentimental stuff. And I'd also like to show off the bar that I worked hard to have too.
Yeah, it's great stuff, man. And I see you got all those belts back there. How does that work? When you win a belt, do you get a replica? Or do you order one? How does that work? I see all your titles.
Yeah, well, in WWE, they gave us replicas after we won the belts, but the replicas for the WWE weren't the greatest quality, and I still have the replica Raw and the replica SmackDown belts in my shed, which I was thinking, me and Cash were thinking one time we could sign them and sell them for an auction for some sort of charity. We want to, we work closely with the American Heart Association. But anyway, so they gave us the replicas, but I didn't like the quality of them. And if I was going to show it off to friends or family, I'd rather it be like a good quality belt, if they came over and wanted to hold it and they're, oh, this is heavy. This is the real deal, So I got my own replicas made for every championship that we've won. I do have, over under my bar, I do have the nameplate from our AEW World Tag Team Championship.
Oh, cool.
I still have that. Yeah. But yeah, all these I have had made for myself. And, I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, he's feeding his own ego and having his own things, but maybe I am a bit, but this is stuff I'm proud of. And this is stuff that, she's 8 now, she'll be 9 in April, but this is stuff 10 or 15 years from now, I can show to my daughter and say, look, hey, I worked this hard to achieve all of this. And if I can do that, you can too. And then, maybe pass it on to her and she may pass it on to her kids and stuff. So all the things that I've got it's not just posters plastered around of me. It's all sentimental value stuff and stuff that I'm very proud of.
Absolutely. As you can see behind me, I have the old television belt replica, which of course I won by beating Dusty Rhodes at Starrcade. And
well, I know that's a lot. Nobody beat Dusty, especially at Starrcade. And maybe a ref stoppage.
And is Dusty finish. And I have a couple others. One of my favorite belts. I don't have it up, but Mike Dawkins gave it to me. It's the big green belt, Hogan's first belt.
Oh,
in WWE, and love belts. I didn't really like him before I got in with Conrad and the guys, and those guys collect belts like crazy. With those WWE belts, it has me wondering: do you stay up on WWE product at all? Do you watch it at all? Do you follow?
Man, I don't even mean this in a bad way. I wish that I did, and I wish I kept up on it, and I do. Like, I keep up on it through news, through social media and things like that. But as far as sitting down and watching it, I really don't. Not because I don't enjoy it, because God, I love wrestling so much. But for so long, especially when I was at WWE, even the NXT days, which we'll talk about now, I was traveling all the time. Like, I was gone all the time. I was home for a couple of days, and I missed so much stuff with my wife. But more than that, because at least my wife can understand he's doing this for us. He's doing this for a job. For my daughter, I missed so much stuff because of wrestling, and all she knew is daddy's gone or daddy's not here. She doesn't know that daddy's at work, or maybe she does know that, but she only processes it as daddy's not here or daddy's leaving again. Right. So now I try to limit my wrestling watching on cardio days, which I have cardio every day, but during cardio, or if I'm already at a hotel or I'm already on the road, and then I'll binge watch a shit ton of wrestling there. I do usually watch something at least every day. Today, I watched the whole NXT TakeOver Brooklyn card. We watched that over coffee this morning. That's great. Then I took a little break and then came back and finished watching the rest of it. But usually while I'm at home, I try to stay away from wrestling, because the memory I want my daughter to have is he was there, and he was presently there, mentally presently there. Right.
Yeah, me too. And presently there, Matthew and I went to that NXT TakeOver too. Went to all of them. We went to all of them in Brooklyn. And the reason I bring it up is because as we're recording this, WWE just had a really, really well-received angle featuring somebody that everybody but me thought was unlikely, Sami Zayn. What do you think, as someone who worked with Sami Zayn, of this, what many would think is inexplicable rise to the top of the card? And, there's people saying he should be facing Roman. Like, it's pretty crazy what's been going on with Sami, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but also it's not, because Sami, unapologetically, Sami is very detail oriented, and he's a stickler for the things he does. The same as me. He's just less abrasive than I am. So sometimes he can have he can get a reputation because of that, because some people are like, oh, that's not that important, don't think about it. But to him, it is important. So in his mind, he could have always been there, and I think as well. I mean, Sami and we're very good friends, and he traveled with us a few times, one of my favorite traveling partners too. But I knew the drive and determination he had from the beginning. I mean, I did not like him when I first met him. We had our tryout together in June of 2012, and I've told him this story. But some issues happened, and we were all in a hotel together, and cops came and started knocking on all of our doors, and he and I almost simultaneously opened the door at the same time. And he said, do you know where this guy is? And I said, no, I don't know where this guy is. He said, well, you need to find out where he is. And he slammed the door. And I'm like, this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, you don't tell me what to do. I don't care if you've been Ring of Honor, champion or whatever you are. You don't tell me what to do. Right. So I had a bad taste in my mouth. Oh, and then when we both got hired, we were all out to lunch with a couple of other people, and we were talking or whatever. And he's like, Sami was like, who really surprised me that they got hired? And everybody's like, who? And he looked right at me. He said, I'm really surprised you got hired. And I was like, this He doesn't have a fucking filter. And so we had words there or whatever. But he does have a bit of a reputation when you first meet him, I think. But that's because he's so passionate, man. Just like me, he's so passionate about it. So I think he's finally been given the opportunity to do what he's always been able to do. That's, above talent is opportunity. As long as you get that opportunity, man, and you believe in yourself and you've got the talents to do it, you can do it. And if he wants to main event WrestleMania and make these people believe, if there's one person in this world who can do that, it's him.
Well, that's certainly a ringing endorsement. Someone who has not been getting ring endorsements lately from us, and he's really trying to get our attention, is Road Dogg. Did you want to talk any more about that, or do you just want to kind of let it die?
Well, I told you I didn't want to really speak on Road Dogg anymore.
You did.
Because I think he understands. I know he knows where I'm coming from. And he kind of, talks in circles a bit because he says things, but then he contradicts himself with other things he says. Immediately when he met me, he judged me, right?
Right.
And that judgment hasn't left him. Even though I've done okay in my career, and also even though, a lot of people have, a positive perception of me, he still has kept that judgment, which is, ass backwards to me. But, I listened to this 15-minute tirade that he had to say about me, and I just want to let it go, but I don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm here to let bygones be bygones. I just wanted to get my story out there because, everyone can have their own perception, but now I have this platform, thanks to you, thanks to Conrad, thanks to everyone, that I can tell my story, at least part of my story.
Right.
And, for him to say that, and I'm going to get myself really worked up and I'm going to try not to, but for him to say that if I came to the back and I was so angry that I cried and punched the wall, then I need to get my priorities straight. No, I think I'm the last person in this wrestling world that needs to get their priorities straight, because my priorities, and I've said it a million times, Matt, God, my wife, and my daughter. And I think if there's one professional wrestler that you can look at and say, he set his priorities, he's got his priorities right, it would be me. That's what I've always said. And above everything, it's those three. I was upset because I'm so passionate about wrestling. And yes, I do like he said, I do take wrestling very seriously, almost too seriously. I completely understand that. But I take it so seriously because I haven't had the easiest upbringing in wrestling. I wasn't able to get into wrestling because of a name. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't able to get into wrestling and get behind the two biggest icons in professional wrestling history and ride their coattails to the top, because the Attitude Era got not just him. So I don't want that to be the headline, but the Attitude Era had the privilege of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. You know what I'm saying? They had that privilege, these two hot commodities. So everything was over and everyone was making a ton of money. Me at 5'10", Southerner, not the best looking guy in the world, not the best body in the world. But I made it. You know what I'm saying? I made it. There's a reason that I made it. And for him to say that my priorities are wrong, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I do take it very seriously, because if I don't take it seriously with the stature that I am and what I have to offer, then I'll just fall to the wayside and I'll just be another guy in the crowd. And I don't want that. I never want that, because ultimately the bigger star you are, the more money you can make and the more money I can give to my wife and daughter to take care of themselves. So I apologize, I guess, for being slightly upset that we were put out there in a 2-minute match to get beat clean, and then to follow up, you get beat by all these guys who weren't going to be on TV the very next week. We were. And there was no follow-up plan for us. And I know there was no follow-up plan because me and Dan went and talked to Hunter, and he said, I really don't think there's anything next week for you guys. I'm not sure, though. You can talk to Vince. So, of course, I'm going to be upset because that's affecting my bottom dollar, So to say that I have my priorities not right, that kind of bothered me. But above that, because I don't put anything past Road Dogg anymore, above that is your buddy, Cassio Kid. He decided to chime in because he was behind a keyboard, of course, on his Twitter. And he had a little something to say. And that, he said, I hope, Emporium or whatever. I hope that Road Dogg shook their hand afterwards. I think Cassio may be barking up the wrong tree, and I think that he's messing with the wrong person because I've never met the guy before, and there's no reason for him because he doesn't know the story. But there's no reason for him to be able to offer his thoughts on my situation and to be a little smart ass like that. So that kind of bothered me a little bit too.
I got to tell you, Cassio is my buddy. I count my close friends on one hand, and he's one of them. And what you think might be like a cheap shot or whatever, Cassio doesn't really take cheap shots. Like,
I get that, and that's fine that he's your friend. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's nobody who's met Cassio that doesn't love him and like him. And I think it's more like this, and when you meet him, hopefully you'll feel the same. But he's kind of like me in the sense if I'm with you, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I think he's with Road Dogg. You know what I'm saying? Like that's his partner, his business partner, his podcast partner. I'm not sure what the intent was when that tweet, but
I think you know the intent, and I respect you and commend you for trying to take up your friend, and that's totally cool that he is 100% with Road Dogg. But just because he's with Road Dogg doesn't mean he's allowed to take pot shots at me. That's my opinion.
So you took it. Well, I guess you would. I mean that is the intent of it, and I think you're trying to promote a podcast, you're trying to do all these things. And I think maybe that was just a miss by him. And he doesn't miss often. Like when you look at, he's Conrad's best friend from a long time ago because Conrad's wealthy. And Conrad has a lot of people that take advantage of him or try to take advantage of him. And Cassio is the one guy that he can trust. And, he was just paired with Road Dogg. Like I don't think he pursued it. I think he was ready to podcast. He's a great podcaster. But he's a great guy. Like this is a guy like we've gone to aquariums together. You know what I'm saying?
I think you and I could just agree to disagree and let's move on. Just let Cassio know that hopefully we don't come face to face, and if we do, then hopefully he and I can have a tequila and squash this, and maybe underneath the table we can bury Road Dogg a little bit.
I guarantee you guys will be drinking and laughing in 5 minutes, but I understand where you're coming from and I'm not disrespecting it. But at the same time, he's a good person to me and a good friend of mine. And but I think we can say that's the final word on the Road Dogg. No more responses. No more nothing. We've tried before, and even little things. I think like taking little pot shots at Punk. I think that's to get to you, honestly. I think I there's no real,
I could see that too. The crazy thing is Road Dogg says that I keep bringing this up, but all the quotes he and Cassio used were from an interview that happened a year and a half ago, and then a second interview that happened 3.5 years ago. So I was telling my story, and they're the ones that are bringing it up. But I think that this is the end of the Road Dogg saga for me and you.
Well, I'm hoping you guys can meet face to face and work it out at some point. But got a little tense in there because you're a passionate person. You said earlier you're a passionate person, and it works both ways, right? You're passionate about wrestling, which makes you a little hot-headed. I'm passionate about the things I like, which makes me a little hot-headed. Like it's the same thing. Like you can't. Either you're a person who's not passionate or you are, but one thing you're passionate about is tequila. Dax Harwood, do you have a tequila of the week?
Well, of course I have a tequila of the week. It is one I have not tried. I have tried this brand before, and I am a fan of this brand. Well, I guess the only thing I've tried from this brand is their Extra Añejo, and I was very pleased with it. This is Adictivo Tequila. It is a Reposado, 100% agave. It's produced... It's cooked in, let's see, what was it? It was, oh, okay. It was, the Adictivo tequila, the Reposado was cooked or baked in brick ovens, and it's been aged for 8 months in French oak barrels. So I'm looking, usually in the French oak barrels, it's a little sweeter. Those kind of French oak barrels are a little sweeter as opposed to like some of the whiskey barrels that, most reposados are aged in. So I'm looking forward to this one. I have a feeling that this one, like I said, and the French oak barrels are going to be, this one's going to be a little sweeter than some of my other ones. We will see. Figure it out. All right. And if you got the deal that has the top, and the top's a little, when you finish the bottle, you think you're done. Nah, you're not done. You still got some there.
Oh, wow. That's almost as cool as this right here.
No, not that cool. Not that cool.
So what kind of pour are we doing today? We're doing it's later in the day, so a light pour, medium pour, or go to bed pour?
It's a moderate pour. I was making sure my basement door was shut so the wife couldn't hear. It's a moderate pour today. And we may get 2 moderate pours. We'll see. But yeah, let's try this one out. 100% agave. Let's see if it tells where this is produced. Jalisco, Mexico. Yeah, so let's see how this one goes. Like I said, French oak barrels, 8 months. Yeah, that's Jesus.
I did the same thing. Like I filled up this glass full of Classe, and I have to drink it. I think I accidentally did a heavy pour.
Oh, that's easy.
All right, to you, my friend.
To you, buddy.
So what is the verdict on Dax Harwood's Tequila of the Week?
1 sip. Everybody knows the rules.
People have called it the ASMR, the ASMR Dax Tequila, because we could hear every sip, every sound.
I tell my daughter about that. She loves ASMR. So it's not as sweet as I predicted it to be, but it is sweet. Little vanilla-y, definitely some pepper towards the end. I smell a citrusy aroma. I don't really smell any sweet aroma. I think so. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think a lot of tequila connoisseurs won't really like it because there's not a super distinct flavor of the agave. I don't think that it is definitely a beginner tequila. And if you're going to introduce someone to a reposado, this would probably be it because it is a little sweeter. Not much of a bite on the back end, so that's good. The pepper is there towards the end, but not that much. Out of 10, I'd give this one, Adictivo Tequila Reposado, I'd give it I'd say it was 7-1. It's good enough. I'd put it in my margaritas. I don't think I would. I am today. I don't think I would sip on it, in general. But it is a great beginner tequila, and I would buy it again. It was about $55. Like I said, their Adictivo's Extra Añejo blend is very, very good. So yeah, if you're a beginner of tequila, and this is something you'd like to, if you want to get out of vodka, the shit taste of vodka, then I would say start with the.
Now you can have heat with Conrad.
Oh, okay. I thought he was a whiskey guy.
He is a Tito's man. He will drink the whiskey, but he is a daily Tito's. I'd say that's his daily drink is okay. Tito's water and some squirt, as he calls it, which is a little juice. God. Yeah.
Oh, what a word! So listen, if a bottle of tequila, if a bottle of Tito's is right in front of me, dude, I'm gonna pour a glass. I'm okay with that. But when we're comparing tastes between vodka and a good quality tequila, there's no comparison.
We're not gonna sip vodka.
Nah, no. I'm gonna put it in my Bloody Mary mix, or
yes,
I'm gonna put it in.
Sir. That's my shit right there.
Yeah, me too, dude. Especially when I'm flying. To and from. That's my go-to.
It's like a glass of water for me in the air. Is the you ever been in New Orleans?
Oh yeah.
Ever hung out there much?
Yep.
Those I go there for the Bloody Marys. I love them very much. So speaking of things we love, guys, we have a YouTube channel. And we'd love for you to subscribe. We're going to put a bonus show up there once we get to 20,000 subscribers, if we get there soon. And it's just watchdax.com. And real quick, you hear all the advertisers on the show, and we try not to have too many, but it's the only way we can keep doing this, really. And if you want to advertise with us, we have people, our first advertisers heard our first show and came to us with T-Latch Systems and of course, our great belt sponsor we're going to talk about a little bit later, Main Event Belts. But if you want to advertise with us, you go to advertisewithftr.com, and that's enough plugs. You want to talk about some wrestling?
I guess so. That's what the people are here for, huh?
I think so. Someone on Twitter said we should have a Twitter page for the Tequilas of the Week. I think maybe an Instagram page of Dax's Tequilas of the Week, because that way we just have the picture. We don't have to kind of interact as much, but people get the information. What do you think about that idea?
Oh yeah, I like that. That would be a good marketing idea as well. So I'm definitely not against that. Speaking of Instagram, you and I have talked, and we have now allowed my wife. She's going to do a lot of the Instagram.
She is so much better at it than I am.
Oh gosh, she's better at everything than both of us. But she's going to enhance our Instagram presence a little bit. I'm not good at it at all either. All I know how to do is post pictures and then type and stuff like that. But as far as making videos and reels and things like that, she's going to help us out with that. She's going to give you looks into my personal life, our personal life, and then, some upcoming topics. Maybe I'll have some old pictures in my phone to share. So she's going to help us out with that. So follow us. What is the Instagram handle? FTR with Dax?
All socials is FTR with Dax.
FTR with Dax. So please follow us and let us know what you think and what you'd like to see.
And a quick shout out to Fight Boys over on Twitter for doing all of our graphics so far. He does an amazing job. I think it's at Fight Boys Show on Twitter. Give him a follow as well. Well, let's talk about Takeover 2 Brooklyn. Like I told you, I was there. We went to the first one. It was an eventful weekend in many ways for Matthew and I. And I believe it was an eventful weekend for you as well. Couple things before the show starts that I read from the Observer. Dave Meltzer reports, in the Observer, of course, that Shawn Michaels is moving to Orlando to take over as head coach. Michaels had said to people that he's relocating himself and his family to Orlando. He had been living in Texas to take over as a main coach at the Performance Center. It's said that he's taking over for the position that Terry Taylor had, but Taylor is now out of action due to neck surgery. First of all, what was it like working with Terry Taylor?
Well, Terry and I didn't have a terrible relationship.
I love when you laugh at the beginning of these.
Yeah, but we also didn't have the greatest relationship. I felt that Terry sometimes didn't possess the attributes to be a. Okay, wait a second. Hold on. Let me rewind that. He did possess the attributes of being a great coach because Terry was a really good worker and he had incredible knowledge, because you think about it, he's been through the territories. He was, he was in
all of them.
Yeah. He was in Texas. He was in Mid-South, Jim Crockett. So he was there and he possesses all that. Sometimes as far as delivering the knowledge, he was not the best at it for being a coach. Also, I felt sometimes he had his own motives, and I'll leave it at that. But he and I didn't always see eye to eye, and that's okay. That's not always going to happen. We didn't have a bad relationship. We never, gotten arguments or anything like that. We just sometimes didn't see eye to eye. But go ahead, please.
Did you have a coach that really took you under their wing or that you had a great relationship with over
Oh my God.
Who would you highlight?
Oh my gosh. Norman Smiley was an incredible coach, and I'm sure he still is, but he would focus on the nuances of things, and he would take the time to explain the whys. He didn't expect you just to understand. And if you couldn't understand, he would take the time to make sure that you did understand, or at least understand his point. And he'd let you know, hey, I'm not saying this is completely right. I'm just saying this is my thoughts on it. He was incredible. As far as I didn't work with Robbie Brookside too much, because Robbie was more hands-on with the younger talent, but he was more hands-on with the younger talent because Robbie, when it comes to basics and fundamentals, man, I don't think you're going to meet someone too much better than him. And he would teach these not just like the basics and fundamentals of a lockup or headlock takeover or whatever, but also body positioning, body language, the proper way to flip bump and things like that to keep you safe. He was incredible at that. So Robbie was great. I'm sorry. Obviously I said Matt Bloom is the best head coach I've ever worked for, I've ever been associated with. Let's see. I didn't get to work with him too much, but I loved Carino. Steve Carino is a fountain of knowledge as far as wrestling goes, and he loves wrestling. He's passionate about wrestling. And I know he had a lot of respect from a lot of the people there because, again, he was such a great teacher in the sense where, again, he was patient, he was great. And then, going to the weight room, I called him, we used to always joke with each other, but Sean from the weight room, he was an incredible coach teaching us different fundamentals and thoughts and ideologies on working out and how to prolong our health, the health of our bodies. So there was a ton of great staff there and great coaches there.
It would be remiss if I didn't mention Colby Carino is an amazing young talent who's going to do a lot of good things. I don't know if you've seen Colby wrestle much, but I think he's got a big future ahead of him.
I haven't seen him wrestle too much. I've seen a few different things of him, and I am impressed by him. Steve did send me the match that he and Colby had, and I loved that match. It was incredible. I hear a lot of rumblings about Colby's future, so hopefully he does well.
So you get the news, you all get the news that someone who a few years before would have been laughable was in a coaching position, had kind of opened his own wrestling school and had trained some really great wrestlers like Daniel Bryan and Brian Kendrick in Shawn Michaels. You hear Shawn Michaels, not just the coach, but the Heartbreak Kid, one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time, is coming to NXT. What were your thoughts?
I was overjoyed. I was excited, man. I'm sure that surprises some people being a Brett guy, but he's there. Whatever anyone thinks of him personally, there's no denying what he's done in the ring. I mean, he is, and it's almost to the point of being an overstatement, but he's one of the greatest of all time, maybe the greatest performer of all time. So we were all super excited about that. He had come to visit the PC a few times before being a full-time coach, and it was awesome to be able to sit in and talk to him. But I do want to correct Dave a little bit. He wasn't coming in to replace Terry or take his spot, because Terry was the finishing coach at NXT. The finishing coach to put you either on TV or the main roster. Sean was coming in just to be like 1A and 1B with Terry. And obviously Sean has a bigger track record than Terry, but that's not a knock at Terry. Sean has a bigger track record than, most of the wrestlers that have ever been in the business. But he was just coming in to be 1A, 1B with Terry. So
what was your relationship like at the beginning working with Shawn Michaels? Shawn Michaels comes in, he's the new coach, and he's got a big presence. Do you guys have a good relationship?
Yeah, he was a fan of ours. He had seen some of our stuff, and the match we're talking about today, and then going forward, the match from Toronto. He was a huge fan of all those matches as well. He was, and then imparting his knowledge was it was incredible. It was a surreal moment. One of the surreal moments, the most surreal moments in my career, was being able to sit across the table from Shawn Michaels and learn from him.
Of course, NXT Takeover 2 Brooklyn was one of these great weekends that they kind of started doing, and now they do all the time, where they had a pay-per-view, they had a SmackDown, probably, and a Raw in the same building. And one of the events that happened was SummerSlam. There was something that happened at SummerSlam I wanted to ask you about, because it's such a interesting topic to me. The finish of the main event was Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton. The finish was Brock Lesnar elbowing Randy Orton legit in his forehead and his face until he bled, and they stopped the match. A lot of controversy. Apparently, Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar got into a fight backstage. What was your reaction to that at the time? And looking back, I'm trying to ask a long question so you can sip your drink, because I saw you grab your drink. But at the time, what did you think about it?
No, I didn't think. In my opinion, I thought that was the idea. I was like, it's two professionals, two guys who have been doing this the exact same time. They come in the business at the exact same time. So obviously they have, and their careers kind of paralleled, until Brock left for football and UFC. But two guys who are professionals, and I'm sure, and I was sure, that was part of the plan. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Brock had there was no reason for Brock to have any malicious intent to go out there and elbow Randy across the eye for no reason, So I don't know. I think that I thought it was a work. Let's just put it like that.
Right, but as a method for a finish, you don't have any problems with it.
Oh, no. Especially in a day and age, where MMA and even boxing for a long time, but fights are stopped because of referee stoppage. I think it's a different finish. I think anytime you can do something different for a finish, I always think it's great if it's executed properly. And I think you have Brock Lesnar, who legit is one of the baddest men in the world, and you have him in there with Randy, and that's a way to protect both guys, but also make Brock look like a killer without pinning Randy, right, who, if they wanted to do a follow-up match, a rematch, you know what I mean? All Randy's got to say is, look, I hung with you. You're supposed to be the baddest man in the world. I hung with you the whole time. And the reason I lost was because the referee, you know what I mean? And then we could go from there if we wanted to. So I'm not one of these guys that thinks that every match always has to have a distinct finish. And if it doesn't have a distinct finish, then it was bad or it was wrong, because you never know where the story is supposed to go. You know what I mean? So I didn't mind the finish at all.
At the time, NXT is the hottest property in wrestling. You guys coming off of Dallas WrestleMania, where secondary market tickets, I remember looking at them, were $500 a piece. It was insanity. And there was more hype about this, maybe the takeover, than there was the SummerSlam that took place in Brooklyn that summer. As a talent, you're trying to get promoted to the main roster. So you've got that thing going on. At the same time, you're part of this huge movement, the hottest brand in wrestling. In your head, how could you reconcile those two? Were you excited? Did you want to get the hell out of there? Were you ready to go up? Were you happy to be in such a hot property? Where were you at that time?
Dude, I think at the time I was taking everything day by day. I never looked at it as, when are we going to get called up to the main roster? Never, because we were doing such great work on NXT. Not me and Cash, but the whole roster. We were doing such great work.
Killing it, yeah.
And I was fortunate to be a part of it, but I was also fortunate to be in the hottest point of my career. And on top of that, I was fortunate enough to be able to take care of my wife and my daughter better than I ever have. So I never looked at it as, when am I going to get called up, or I've got to get called up here. It was just, I'm taking it a day at a time. And today I'm going to try to make today the best day I've ever had in my career. And that's just how I looked at it. I was excited to be part of NXT, and I think we've sold the building out that night, right?
Dude, it was sold out. The secondary market tickets, meaning StubHub and them, did not sell it at as high a rate. They came down to earth, but it was sold out. It was a sold out arena, and we're going to talk about the environment there. One thing I neglected to mention, because I'm a pretty good guitar instructor, but not that great a podcaster, is that we're going to watch along the match. We forgot to say that. We're going to talk about the card, and then we're going to watch along your match with DIY, which there's a lot to talk about. But first, let's talk about the card. Ty Dillinger pinned Wesley Blake. We talked about them both. This particular match was for NXT television, not for the the live event that came out on the network at the time. You've mentioned they're both great. Like you've mentioned, both of those two guys are two like top level guys. What did the WWE not see in them?
I think for so long, the phrase "good hand" has been at a detriment for talent, and it shouldn't be, and it never was meant to be. Someone said, for example, for years back in the 80s or whatever, someone would say, "Oh, let me work with George South. He's such a good hand." That was a compliment, and it should be a compliment. But it just got to the point where this guy's a good hand. Oh, he's a good hand. Oh, and he just kept getting passed down. And someone said, well, Brad Armstrong, he was a good hand. He was a hell of a hand, man. He just didn't have it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it became almost an insult. But it should be taken with like a badge of pride. Though both those guys were incredible hands at professional wrestling. They looked great. They flawless in the ring, both of them. Meticulous psychology, knew when to pick up the pace, knew when to slow it down, knew when to put their bodies in the right positions. Their strikes were crisp. Just great talents. I think, and we've said it about, I think both of these guys, but I know for sure Ronnie, Ty Dillinger, they were just too nice to be in the WWE system. In the WWE system, you don't have to be cutthroat like some of the producers that we may have talked about earlier in the show. You don't have to be cutthroat and stab people in the back, but you do have to have an edge to you, and you do have to have a little bit of attitude to you. And I think
you got to fight for yourself too.
You got to fight for yourself, yes. And I think those guys were just two guys who were so nice and so sweet, and just wanted to do good in wrestling, that they probably slipped through the fingers or slipped through the cracks of the WWE because they weren't they weren't so hard-headed and weren't so abrasive. And I also think they probably thought, because I've been there before, they probably thought that cream rises to the top. Talent will always win. And as much as it sucks to say, talent doesn't always win. You know what I mean? It's not always as cut and dry as it seems.
Squeaky wheel,
Yes, sometimes you Dillinger and I have talked about this, but sometimes you got to stand up for yourself, and you got to fight for the things you believe in. And I think now, if you've been paying attention to the social media, I think Sean Spears is starting to get that.
And it's an interesting thing in WWE, especially developmental, where it seems the only way to get real success is to be loud and abrasive and stick up for yourself in a system that completely discourages that.
Not just a system, but a whole company that discourages that. Like on the surface, they discourage that. You know what I mean? But behind the scenes, they kind of want you to be a bad apple every once in a while, because if you're a bad apple, then maybe they think they could, monetarily control you. And, I've seen it happen.
Well, here's some guys, a little bit about. The Authors of Pain in match number 2 beat TM61, which were Shane Thorne and Nick Miller. Of course, TM61, also known as the Mighty Don't Kneel, are doing very well in Japan right now. A lot of criticism about AOP when they wrestled, about them being dangerous or careless. It's not something I would levy because I don't know anything about it. Was that the rep they had at all?
No, not at all. I think they had a reputation for being green, but that's because they were green, and there's no reason to be embarrassed about being green. We're all green at some point. They just happened to be green and learning on television. But I worked with those guys a few times, and never once did I feel worried or unsafe, or insecure about my health. Not once. They did have a run-in with a couple of enhancement guys that they may have hurt. But it was, God dang, man. They didn't purposely hurt someone. It's not like they took their fist and drove it through their skull, because both of them could have if they wanted to.
Big dudes.
Yeah. It was just a mishap. And the old adage, and almost sometimes overused adage is this ain't ballet. And it ain't ballet. It's going to happen. So I never once found them to be unsafe or anything. And plus, they're super sweet guys as well.
Maybe fans could have some sympathy because, as Kermit the Frog once said, it's not easy being green.
Yeah, that's a good one, dude. You got me there. You popped me with that one.
Hey, well, if you're looking to order something to pop, the nights are getting longer, but the breeze isn't the only thing that's getting stiff. That's right. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, we all know that confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom, especially when it's time to step up to the plate. That's where Blue Chew comes in. Now, Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers, you know all this, guys, delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. It's time to order. You know about it because you know it comes in chewable tablets, and you know it's a fraction of the cost of what you would pay normally for things with those ingredients in them. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Now, Dax Harwood, I know you had your anniversary. You've talked about that a couple times. But the thing is that you are a very enthusiastic endorser of said Blue Chew online service, are you not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the reason I'm so enthusiastic about it is because it's not something that you have to have if you have that problem. And if you do have that problem, dude, it's totally okay. It happens to all of us at a certain point in our lives. But if you don't have that problem and you just want to give your little lady or your little dude a special night, a little extra, that's what Blue Chew is for. And I commend them for being so easy, and I commend them for being so discreet, because now guys like myself who may have been embarrassed or may suffer from anxiety, now we have an opportunity to make sure we please our Mr. or mistresses. And then it's plural mistresses, just in case you have them.
Yeah, there's just as many as you want. There's no judgment here. Just order from Blue Chew because you'll be confident, and if you could benefit from that extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. Have better sex. Guys, you know the deal. Today's the day to try it. Go to BlueChew.com and try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code DAX at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code DAX, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for being a day one, every episode sponsor of FTR with Dax Harwood. It's really great that you say that. You know, there's no shame in it. It's just part of the human condition. Why would you feel shame for being human?
Absolutely not. And I hope to God my mom and dad aren't listening to this episode, because before I came down here today, I was talking to my wife, and she was getting ready for bed or whatever, or getting prepared for bed. And she put on her little gown, but it wasn't just an old woman gown. You know, it was like a little Greek sexy gown.
Signal,
yeah, I don't even know if a gown's what it's called. Maybe I shouldn't call it a gown. Call it a gown. That makes it sound like we're like 60 or 70 years old.
Like Betty White. I think Betty White wears a gown.
But not now, dude. But she had this little deal on, and I mean, maybe she does have it on now. I don't know. But she had this little deal on, and it was short. And I was like, babe, Jesus, where did you get this fat old Greek ass from? And of course, she told me to stop and told me to shut up. But on deck, I've got some Blue Chew, and tonight's not a special night. I just want to make sure it's special for me, if you know what I'm saying. So, Blue Chew, thank you for everything you do for us men, because without you, we'd be a fucking wreck.
Make every night a special night with Blue Chew. And of course, NXT TakeOver 2 was a special night for everybody involved, and we're going to do a watch along in just a few minutes of your match against DIY. There's a couple more matches on here. Mm-hmm. This one has a couple interesting people. Austin Aries beat No Way Jose. Of course, Austin Aries was part of this group of people that were starting to come into NXT that already had a pedigree, already had a reputation. In some eyes, were already stars. What was it like for you guys? You're toiling away in this developmental system, trying to get some notoriety, to see these guys being brought in one after the other at the time.
Yeah, at this time, in 2016 didn't bother me at all because we had already kind of proven our worth, with this series with American Alpha, but also on the house shows working with Wesley Blake and Buddy Murphy. And then all the series we had with Enzo and Cass too, where we were able to take these guys who fans had the perception of just being an act. And we actually had incredible series of matches, but also great storytelling to go. So, I was way more confident myself at that point. Maybe the year prior, I was a little upset. I would get a little butt hurt or get a little rash on my ass or whatever, because I would see guys who I have a lot of respect for and now, then and now consider friends, but like seeing Samoa Joe come in or Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens, seeing these guys come in and they get, shot to the top while, I'm just traveling these house shows, little Florida loops, and I'm working 20, 30 minutes a night, but I can't see the light of day on television. So, maybe a year prior, I was a little more upset or would have been a little more upset than I am at this point. At this point right now, open arms, because I feel like I'm part of the team. I feel like I'm contributing. Me and Cash are contributing to the team, bringing along Austin Aries, who is a proven commodity, but also a proven talent too. I don't know exactly. He and I may not see eye to eye on some things in life or politically or whatever. But as a human being, the guy that I got to know, he was always great to me. And as a talent, there's no denying how good he is in the ring.
Yeah, there's no one in the world I probably have less in common with than Austin Aries. But, bro, he was so good to my kid. Like, behind the scenes, just indulgent and just sweet and nice. And so that's my experience, folks. So
yeah,
take that what you want.
Exactly. He's just outspoken. And when you're outspoken, at some points in your career, you're going to be respected for that. And some points in your career, you're going to not be respected for that. And you got to pick and choose, and you got to see what's more important to you. And obviously he had a hell of a career. He's having a hell of a career or whatever. And, he's one of those guys that you can let the talent speak for itself.
Speaking of talent, there's a unique talent in that match. No Way Jose is someone who seems to have slipped through the cracks of wrestling history a little bit. If you've seen him in person, this is a big, good-looking, charismatic human being. Mm-hmm. What was your experience with him, and is that kind of No Way Jose gimmick, as you call it, is that just dead on arrival? Is it there's no room to grow, there's nothing to do with it? Or were there other factors, you think?
So I don't think it was dead on arrival, no. I knew No Way Jose from a while back. He came from North Carolina Indies, where he wrestled as Manny Venezuela. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But he actually came to my house in 2013. He drove from North Carolina to Florida to watch wrestling with me one night. And I'll never forget that, because he wanted to be better, not because he was looking to suck up to me, because God dang, dude, 2013, I was nobody to be sucking up to, I mean, 2023, I'm nobody to be sucking up to, but I'm saying I couldn't help him out then, but he came down just to learn, you know what I mean? And I've always respected him because of that. As far as his gimmick, that's him. I don't think it's a gimmick. So that's why I think there was room to grow for him. If you compare it to Tyrus, what was his name in WWE? The Funkasaurus, Brodus Clay. There we go. Right. If you compare it to that, there are distinct differences, because that was not Brodus Clay. You know what I mean? That wasn't the man. Right. He was given a gimmick, and he was having to play that gimmick out on television. That was not him. So I do think there was a ceiling for him, because that was not him. But as far as Manny, No Way Jose, that's him every day, dude. Like that's how he projects himself in real life. He's that positive. He loves to dance. He loves to have fun. So I don't think that there was a ceiling per se. I think he could have still grown. And it would have been just as easy to show his fiery Dominican side, because he does have that. I've seen it. If he showed that, then there we go. There's another avenue. But I just think that somewhere along the way, someone stuck him in that category or stuck him in that position and didn't let him grow from that. And also, I think he could have spent a little more money on good, better looking gear, but that comes with making more money with the opportunity to grow, which is what I talked about with the Road Dogg situation. Right. If I'm going to be stuck down here, my money's going to be down here. But if I can grow here, my money's going to be here. And then I can buy a shit ton of gear. So there we go.
Right. Well, there you go. And of course, we wish him the best. I believe he's still out there wrestling. And I think he's still got a big future. Ember Moon beat Billie Kay in 4 minutes and 34 seconds. This was Ember Moon's television debut. Of course, he's there with you she's there with you in AEW now. Her stunner off the top rope finisher looked tremendous, Meltzer said. You watched this match recently. What did you think about, first of all, Billie Kay as a character and then Ember Moon as a wrestler? Yeah,
at this point, Billie Kay hadn't found her character because, again, dude, I'm not kidding. I spent countless nights with Billie and Peyton, and the character that she eventually had was her. Was an extension of her. She wasn't that ditzy. Actually, she's a very, very, very intelligent girl, but she is hilarious, So I wouldn't say she's fucking Carl Gotch or anything or Lou Thez, you know what I mean? But who needs to be, or why should she be? She's got such an oozing charisma, and I'm so surprised that I was very surprised WWE let her go, but I'm so surprised she doesn't have a job. But I think it's because of her own accord. You know what I'm saying? I think it's because of her own decision that she's not in wrestling right now. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. But dude, I don't think this is the Billie Kay that Billie Kay was meant to play or meant to be. I think the Billie Kay that we got later was exactly who she was supposed to be. And she was, man or woman, she was one of the most entertaining parts of that television show for a very long time. Ember Moon, incredible athlete. I don't know what has happened to her, at least in WWE. I don't know why she had so many start-stops. I don't know why they never fully got behind her, because she is an incredible athlete. She has some crisp snap bumps. Her kicks are crisp. Her forearms are crisps. Like they're fucking chips or something. Her movements, the way she cuts and dodges, like that's athleticism. And then on top of that, she can speak. She's a great speaker too. So I don't know what happened with her on the main roster and the start and stops, but yeah, man, she's one of the top women wrestlers, physical women wrestlers in the world, I think.
Without a doubt. As Tony would say, no question.
No question.
So we have a question from Twitter as we're running down. This is from John Schartzer, supporter of the show at Schartzer John. He asks, NXT takeovers have always been great because it feels like every competitor wants to steal the show. What's the atmosphere like backstage when everybody is in go mode, but also looking to separate themselves from the pack?
Yeah, well, first of all, what was his name?
John Schartzer.
Funny thing is, I've sharted into John many times, so we have that in common.
There you go.
Secondly, as far as stealing the show, man, and trying to differentiate ourselves from each other, I have never been in more of a family atmosphere than I was there. You know what I mean? Everyone worked so hard to make NXT mean something, to make NXT to put. We knew that NXT was never going to be on the level of SmackDown or Raw. We knew that, but if we could give the perception that we thought, or that we felt, or that we worked so hard that we felt NXT could be there, then we knew we had done something special, And so everybody was rooting for everybody at that time. And the best part about it, man, was Hunter had assembled such a great roster. So look at the people that you've just talked about now, Ty Dillinger and Wesley Blake, two incredible in-ring performers. And then you had Austin Aries and No Way Jose, one guy who is an incredible act and then another guy who's an incredible wrestler. Right. And then the two girls that we just talked about. Ember Moon, again, just put over her athleticism, and then Billie Kay, I just put over her charisma and the character she had. But then on top of that, as the time from 2015 until the time that I left, you also had these football stars like Baron Corbin, but you also had independent veterans who were incredible wrestlers like Samoa Joe. Then you had international talent like we're going to talk about later, Asuka and Shinsuke. And then you had guys like me and Cash who were legit nobodies in professional wrestling. We were just traveling the road as weekend warriors, trying
working your way through the system, right?
Working our way through every single system, the bottom of the system all the way to the top of the system. And then you had Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, two incredible amateur wrestlers. So it was easy to be different. And it was easy to see why everything worked, because at the time, everybody was different, man. Everybody had a different pedigree, and it was a team. It was a complete team. So I think that maybe, why I'm so proud of that time period in my career.
What a great point to bring up. Why differentiate when everybody's so damn different?
Already different.
And the roster is stacked. And I got to tell you, Matthew and I went to so many NXT events. NXT was our shit, dude. That was our shit. And when I think of NXT, I think of one moment. I really do. And that's Bobby Roode coming out in this match. When you have an entrance like that, and of course we're talking about the glorious entrance, at the peak of the glorious entrance, are you guys backstage elbowing each other going, dude, they're all singing, holy shit?
Well, before we get to Bobby, I don't want to skip over the fact that Hideo made his return at the end of that Austin Aries match.
He did.
Dude, I was in Crystal River when he dislocated his shoulder and it was hanging down, and they had to pop it in the back, and he was screaming in pain, dude. I felt so bad for him. He had such a run of bad luck there. And he hasn't replicated that bad luck anywhere. So it was just bad timing. But the people were so happy to see him because they knew what he had to offer. They knew what Kenta could give to professional wrestling, and they knew what Kenta could offer to American professional wrestling, because he hadn't had that chance yet. And then also he finally got to use the GTS, which comes at a detriment to me and Cash's career later on, right before the main roster. We'll talk about sometime later. But he finally got to use the GTS, and man, that blew the building off the place. I remember that. It was so electric that night. But getting back to Bobby, dude, I don't know exactly what we expected. But
it wasn't that. I mean, that entrance was something else.
That entrance was incredible. It was so elaborate, and Hunter was so hands-on with that entrance. You know what I mean? They practiced it so many times. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that music was initially supposed to be used for Shinsuke. And Shinsuke said, I don't think that's me,
Right.
Thankful for both their careers, because the music was a huge part of both of their careers. But yeah, it was such an elaborate entrance, and Hunter was so proud of that entrance, and he worked so hard with Bobby that day to make sure everything was perfect. So yeah, it was, we knew it was going to be a thing, didn't know how big it was going to be.
I remember my son and I just singing at the top of our lungs, just because you had to. Bobby's up there on that scissor lift, coming down from the heavens. It was beautiful. Of course, he's wrestling Andrade, who at the time hadn't found his footing quite yet, but he found it. And of course, he went on to AEW. Of course, you worked with him in the same company at AEW. He's had some issues there, a very publicized fight, I guess, with Sammy Guevara. What do you know of the struggles? What do you attribute maybe Andrade having issues with, if you can talk about it all, in AEW?
I don't necessarily want to talk about it because it's not my place to talk about it. It's not my business to talk about it. And I don't know the full story. All I know is Andrade is a proud human being, and I do know that if you're gonna rattle his cage, he's ready to go. And you know what? Also, he's another guy who stands up for what he believes in. So I have a lot of respect. He and I are very close, as far as like wrestling comrades go.
I imagine you guys have drank tequila together, because
I was just about to say that.
I have drank some tequila, and that man Manny can put down some tequila like nobody I've ever seen.
And dude, not be phased at all. He He is one of my favorite people to drink with, but also least favorite because he will drink my whole bottle. And there's no way I could keep up with him, period, because I am a lightweight. I mean, I'll admit it. People probably think the opposite, but I am a very big lightweight because when I drink, I'd never, ever, ever drink in excess. It's maybe one drink or two, and that's it. But
Mr. Andrade keeps pouring them. He does not stop pouring them.
Especially when I buy the bottle, he'll pour it for sure. He won't stop.
It wasn't his bottle, I will say that.
Yeah, big surprise. But going back to the match, dude, both those talents, so incredible. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of you here, but I love the match. I love working with those guys. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I think Cash and I both had those two guys' first match in NXT because we did a UK loop, some kind of like music festival loop that we did, and that was Bobby's first match was there, and he was in a 6-man tag with us, and it was so much fun. And then I think Andrade's first match in NXT was at a Tampa or Orlando house show, and it was a tag match, he and someone else against me and Dan. And as soon as I came to the back, I told Cash, I said, one, because he's good looking, two, because he's an incredible wrestler.
Annoyingly good looking. He's an annoyingly good
pisses
looking
me
guy.
off, dude. I'm like, God, why didn't God give me some of that? But I told Cash as soon as we got to that, I said, he's going to be a star, dude. But that match, I loved the match. I love the pacing. I love the psychology. Both those guys are so incredible. I have so much respect for both of them as men and as athletes.
And we certainly hope, at least I'm sure you do too, that he works out stuff with AEW because he was really finding his footing there with, man, he had that great match with Darby and Sami. Like, he was really getting there. So I hope that all works out. I hope we see wherever he is, Manny, Mr. Andrade, in a wrestling ring somewhere soon.
Yep. Well, I hope it's in the ring with me. I would love the opportunity to work with him again. I hope he's healing up okay. But I do. Before we skip across this match, there was one point in the match that I watched today that I don't want to leave out.
Sure.
There's a lot of psychology things I like to talk about, and I saw this point in the match, and it was so beautiful. Bobby is such an incredible heel, such an incredible antagonist, such an incredible bad guy that it just goes unnoticed sometimes because he's so good. But to cut Manny off to cut Manny off in that match, I watched it today. Manny went to the top rope, this beautiful high flyer, and Bobby hits the ropes and takes that away from the people. He takes this high flying aerial move away from the people. He doesn't cut Manny off with a beautiful move. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He takes something away from the audience they're expecting and hoping to see from this great acrobat, right? But he takes it away from them. And Manny gets crotched on the top turnbuckle, falls to the floor, and then Bobby, without hesitation, changes a fucking gear and stomps a mud hole right in Manny. And that's what a heel does. That's what a heel does. He stops that baby face out of desperation. And then when the baby face is down, he takes he being the heel, takes all of his anger, all of his embarrassment, all of his frustration out on that baby face with the gear change. And the gear change is what's missing today in wrestling. And when people do it, sometimes they practice their gear change. Gear change is a mental mindset. And you have a gear change in a real fight. Let's just say you're in a real fight, right? And it's happened to me before where I fucking been maybe getting the shit kicked out of me or I've taken a couple of deals, but then the guy misses one and I come up and I catch him, boom, one time, and he goes down and I know he's down for just a second and I'm pissed off and I come down and I start to fucking rain right hands on top of his face. That's a fucking gear change. And that's how you take a match from right here to here. You know what I mean? Right. And change the whole course of the match. And Bobby did it with perfection there. He did it. He never outshined his baby face. He never overstepped his boundaries as a heel, and he changed the gear at the perfect time with the perfect pace. It was so beautiful.
And just the presentation of their characters and the wrestling, you could tell both these guys are not going to be around in NXT too much longer.
Right.
The next match is your match with DIY. We're going to talk about it when we do the watch along. Asuka, who made her return at the Royal Rumble just minutes ago, takes on Bayley to retain the women's title. Something to talk about this appears to be a goodbye for Bayley. Like when NXT Bayley, what did Bayley mean to NXT?
Well, I think that she and Mercedes were the two to change the perception of NXT, not just the women. I think when they put that match on last year or the previous year in Brooklyn, and the people saw that, they're like, okay, that's what I want to see out of my NXT. Those kind of matches, that drama, that emotion, that athleticism, that's what I want to see. So they completely changed the whole mindset of what NXT should and could be. And she had the unfortunate task of trying to one up her match from last year. Right. And they did an incredible job. They knocked it out of the park. I think this was a rematch from Dallas because I think Bayley dropped the belt to Asuka in Dallas earlier that year. And so this was their rematch. And like you said, it was a farewell to Bayley. But I watched the match back today and it was so good. It showed me she'll probably never get the recognition she deserves for how good she is and how instrumental she is in women's wrestling, because other girls will get the shine and will get the accolades because of the moves that they perform, right? And they sometimes they may put guys too, not just girls, but I'm just speaking specifically about the women's roster and the girls she was associated with, because they sometimes put the moves above the story. I watched this match today and it reminded me that Pam always put the story first. She always put the psychology first. And it was such a great paced match. And even at a point in the match where things might have got a little rocky, she was able to bring it back, which is not easy to do whenever you're working with someone where English is not their first language, but she brought it back. And she's such a great captain. She's such a great base for professional wrestling. And she's such a great ring general, man. That match reminded me how good she really is. It may not be her greatest match ever. I loved the match. I watched today. It was a really, really, really excellent match. But it showed me why she is so good and why 10 or 15 years down the line, people are going to say, oh, man, she's the reason those matches were good. You know what I mean?
Of course, Asuka doesn't need a whole hell of a lot of help looking good. Asuka is a great talent. The whole presentation, the amazing song, everything works for Asuka. And you get the feeling NXT's in good hands with Ember Moon and Asuka and Nia Jax after Bayley leaves, right?
Right. And I don't know if there's, since maybe Muda, I could be wrong. I don't think that there has been another foreign talent, another Japanese star who has made the splash over here as well as she has. She connects with the fans over in America just as well as she connected with the fans in Japan. Shinsuke as well, which we'll talk about. But man, Asuka, she's a one of a kind talent for sure.
And that brings us to the main event. Shinsuke beat Samoa Joe to win the NXT title. Of course, a great match, but again, we're going to talk about the presentation, the entrances. And with Shinsuke, they had a dedicated violinist play a little bit of an intro, play the song. The whole crowd is singing the song and singing during the match. It just makes it so much easier when the NXT audience, I think there's a lot to be said about the NXT TakeOver audiences just really being on board and being with you guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think at this point, speaking specifically for Shinsuke, he didn't need to have another great match, which they did. They had a really, really good match, but he didn't need to have another just great match. He had that incredible match with Sami Zayn in Dallas, right? And obviously he has a catalog of great matches from New Japan. So he didn't need to have a great match. He needed to have this presentation. And Hunter did a magnificent job, just like he did with Bobby as well. But I also can't forget the talents involved. They had to execute it. But Hunter made sure that he was presented as a star, and that's what he needed, and that's what got him over the hump as being just this great professional wrestler who we all love. It was a great character who we would embrace,
For sure. In this match, people embraced as well. It's a great conflict in styles. Joe is someone who can pretty much work with anybody, though, right? He's just can do anything with anybody.
I think so. I mean, Joe knows who he is. He knows what he can do. He knows what Samoa Joe should do. Some guys, I talked about it maybe last week with about Cash, where I've pitched ideas for him to do, or moves for him to do, or sequences or whatever. I hate the word sequence, but for things for him to do. And he's like, I don't think that's me. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. But that's the thing, is Joe can do so much athletically. He can do so much more if he wants to. And every once in a while he will pull it out. But could you imagine if Stone Cold Steve Austin went to the top rope and did a 450? Even if he could do it, could you imagine him doing it? No, because that's not what you want from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Same thing with Samoa Joe. He was this killer, Samoan submission machine, and that's what you want to see. And he played his part perfectly.
And we have a Twitter question, Dax Harwood. We're going to put you on the spot real quick. This comes from MAD, which is Duo Bands with a Z on Twitter. His question is, what was your favorite match from this card that wasn't your match?
Oh, gosh. I think watching it back today. Oh, man. I would probably say all the reasons I just gave, but Pam and Asuka, because it was two professionals who went in there and had the match that they should have had, left Asuka as a bigger star than what she was before, and allowed me to remember the ring general that Bayley is and how good she is, dude. The match that she had with, like I said, with Sasha the previous year showed what she could do. This match showed what she could do to elevate other people, but also elevate her own stock, because she lost in the right way, where the people kind of had sympathy for her, because it was like she got this big kick from Asuka, boom, and she fired up from that. And then she got the kill shot, boom. She took the kill shot from Asuka, 1, 2, 3. So the people were like, she tried to fight for us at the very last second. She tried to fight for us, but she just couldn't. You know what I mean? So probably that match.
Well, I noticed on your wall you showed earlier you have the 7 belts. Mm-hmm. I heard a rumor that you might be looking at an 8th belt, and that belt you might be talking to someone, our friend Gav from Main Event Belts, because if you've ever dreamed of being in the main event, well, now you can with Main Event Belts, which is a championship belt making company that designs and makes custom belts to the same specifications you see in the top promotions. He and they have made belts for Harley Race, Jim Cornette, Jake Roberts, the Young Bucks, DDP, Vader. I told you I saw that belt last week. I've seen it before. It's amazing. Jerry Lawler and more. A lot of custom stuff. They're really great at that. Or whether you want a really good replica, they have worked with many independent promotions around the world who are looking for quality at an affordable price. If you're a promoter and need a professional looking championship belt, then look no further than Main Event Belts. Are you looking at a new belt by any chance, Dax Harwood?
Maybe I am. He sent me pictures of the Vader belt, and he sent me pictures of all the belts, but the Vader belt and the Harley belt I loved, dude. They were so incredible. The Harley belt was perfect to scale to the NWA World Heavyweight title, with Harley's picture right in the middle. It was beautiful, dude. But yeah, he and I may be talking, and I may be inquiring about a legacy belt with him for FTR / the Revival. To put myself over in this ad. Sorry, I'm taking up some of your time, but we're the only tag team in the history of wrestling to hold WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, WWE NXT, AEW, IWGP, AAA, and the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. We're the only team to ever do that. And so I want a way to commemorate that. And what better way than have a legacy belt for FTR? And the first person that I contacted was our man at Main Event Belts.
And who better to do it with than Main Event Belts? Because if you want to get a custom like that, or you want it to be more like the real belts you see in top promotions, then have them replace the plastic strap with real leather. Main Event Belts leather crafters can do this. Want to make your belt sparkle like they do in the ring? Then Main Events can replace the plastic stones on your replica with Swarovskis and cubic zirconias. I can't pronounce Swarovskis, but you know what I mean. Just like they use on TV, a real championship belt can be used for any occasion. I was watching a cooking show the other day, and they had one on. You can get one for any occasion, a work event, a wedding, school, or celebration. It's time to make your main event dreams come to life. Contact maineventbelts@gmail.com. That's maineventbelts@gmail.com, or go to www.maineventbelts.com. They ship worldwide, and right now they can offer a real championship belt starting from only $9.99. That's $999, guys. That, if you know what good belts cost, that is a deal. But with the promo code FTR10, you get 10% off your first order. That is, of course, maineventbelts@gmail.com to email, or just go to maineventbelts.com. Make sure you check them out and support our sponsors. You want one more Twitter question before we get started with the watch along?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Here's a good question. What was it like working? This is from V3 No Mouse 09. What was it like working with Ciampa? I really enjoyed his NXT run with Goldie.
Well, to be honest, I had my worst match, Cash as well, he's admitted it, my worst match of my career with Tommaso Ciampa. Before we get into this match here, we had our first match ever with DIY in Memphis, Tennessee, at a house show, at an NXT house show. And we were so excited to work with each other. Well, I think we were. But obviously we had different philosophies on wrestling because they came from the indies. We had been in the WWE system. Plus we had, we never really worked that style. But that match just fell apart, and it was so embarrassing and so brutal. It was so bad. And we got to the back. I marched straight to the locker room. Matt Bloom sent Wesley Blake to the locker room with us, me and Cash, to make sure that nobody got in a fight between us and Ciampa and Gargano.
Oh, so he knew.
He knew. I sat down. Cash sat down. They came through the door. They sat down. We were looking down at each other. Wesley Blake was standing there hoping that nobody fought. And I said, man, that really sucked, huh? And it was so bad, which is funny considering they're, one of our greatest opponents ever. But it was so bad. We obviously grew to be great dancing partners. I think that Tommaso and I both now kind of have similar philosophies. We both like to hit hard. I think he's great. I think he's incredible.
Well, without any further ado, let's get to the match. How set up are you for the match right now?
I'm set up here. I'm going to use my iPad.
Oh, nice. Look at you.
Right here, ready to go.
All right, guys. So we're going to do a watch along. We're not going to stop it, so you can watch along with us. We don't have any ads left to do, so we're going to watch it all the way through. So if you want to watch along and listen to Dax Harwood break down a match between DIY and the Revival / FTR in NXT from Takeover 2, you want to get on your Peacock, okay? You want to go to In Ring. You want to go to down about 17 screens to NXT, move over about 45 screens to Takeovers, hit that, and I believe it's season 3, episode 4. Now, it is Peacock, so if you hit a wrong button, just throw your TV away and get a new one because it's over. So our timestamp is 55 minutes and 43 seconds. Are you ready, Dax Harwood?
Hey, I'm ready. Let's do it. All
right, let me mute mine real quick as well, since I told you to mute yours. In 3, 2, 1, play.
So I know we have the volume down for right now, but I think this was the time that they first really introduced the DIY name. I think they talked about it and said it on TV, but they finally got their first merch, and they had the opportunity to really show character work here. That they were guys who had started from the bottom, and now we here, as apparently some of the great poets say. And Hunter loved those guys. He had an affinity for those guys. Me and Dan, all the respect I have in the world for Hunter, we were never, Cash and I were never Hunter guys. Those two were Hunter guys. We were never, we didn't have his number. I remember one time, Tommaso and I both kind of got injured at the same time. And this was after this match, actually. And Tommaso was on the shelf for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever. And I actually got a knee scope. That's where they found the button in my knee. And I remember Tommaso sending me a text and saying, "Hey, did Hunter get up with you?" I said, "No, I've never talked to Hunter on the phone." He said, "Oh, he just checked on me to make sure I was okay." And I just told him I was a little banged up. And I'm like, this motherfucker, I just had knee surgery and he didn't send me a text. So that's kind of when I realized me and Cash, we were never going to be Hunter guys. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. No big deal. But, to say that it, might have hurt my feelings, didn't hurt my feelings, that would be a lie. But Tommaso and Ciampa were Hunter guys. Hunter loved them from the beginning. And I think this feud, these series of matches we have them kind of showed that. But I do think that Hunter thought and felt that he could put anybody in the ring with me and Cash, and we would bring out the best in them, while also making sure people knew and felt that we were just as on par as they were. And I also know that he felt that we were so unselfish. We were never going to make any of the matches about ourselves. We were going to make the match the most important part of the story. So even though we weren't necessarily Hunter guys, I still think he had a little bit of respect for us.
And of course, when we first press play, we see the promo backstage where the DIY is introduced, hashtag DIY, and a great package kind of recapping your ascent to the titles.
Speaking of great packages, Blue Chew.
There you go. And also that beautiful simultaneous title throw over the shoulder by the Revival. Amazing piece of choreography. And then we have the build-up. We're watching the package. It had a great build-up because part of that was that Gargano and Ciampa are starting to be taken seriously. They're starting to get steam, and they could actually challenge the champions, the Revival, who were on a roll at this point.
I think, underneath it subconsciously, Cash and I were worried about them coming in because we had said they were just bingo hall wrestlers, or they were, VFW hall wrestlers.
Yeah, they were seated guys,
Yeah, and we were actually top guys who had wrestled in main events, had traveled the country in front of thousands and thousands of people and not a couple of hundred at these VFW halls. But subconsciously in the back of our minds, we were worried about these guys because they had been in a role and they had defeated us once before in a non-title match for, I think, the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So we had a lot of doubt in our mind. Quote unquote, that they would be able to defeat us. But as characters, we would not show that doubt, and we would just keep burying them as minor league talents to us major league top guys.
With DIY in the ring, you can see them come out and literally be astonished at the crowd there. It's such a great crowd, and it's sold out, and they're soaking it in. And we're getting ready for the entrance of your NXT Tag Team Champions, the Revival.
Johnny just did his best Sean impression. The guy's probably trying to show off for Sean a little bit. Johnny, what the hell? Maybe I should come out and do my Brett gimmick with my jacket.
You ever seen Orange Cassidy do the Brett gimmick with the jacket?
I have not.
You have to ask him. It's hilarious.
Well, if he's making fun of Brett, I might get hot with him.
No, it's the Orange Cassidy version,
I'm just kidding.
Here we go. Dash and Dawson, the Revival. Man, what a moment for you, right?
Yeah, a huge moment for me. In front of, we were in the Staples Center, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Yep. And Barclays. Yes, that's Staples. That's Staples. Honestly, that's where you and I first met. Did you know that we were on a bus? I think this is right.
No, that was New York.
Too?
That was New York.
Okay,
that was New York after the Goldberg Hall of Fame.
All right, well, fuck me then. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So yeah, I just pushed the guys. They I guess they decided they were going to hold their ground and stand on the deal. But this is our entrance. This is our time. We gave them their moment in the ring, and they didn't want to reciprocate that. So for just spur of the moment thing, if you're not going to get out of my way and give me a moment, I'm going to push you out of the way and make my own moment.
And you are making your moment, of course. Referee just Drake.
Drake. Yep.
Yep, and we've got the match about to begin. What was the story you're trying to tell in this match?
Well, first of all, before we go into that, I just want to say that I missed that fucking name, the Revival. We came up with everything. We came up with the name. We came up with the hashtag, the slogans, the top guys, the shadow machine. I mean, we came up with all that stuff, and none of it I can use now, or we can't use any of it now. But so I missed that. The story that we're trying to tell is that these guys are on a roll, and we've been burying them the last few weeks as, like I said, being minor league talents. We're major league stars. We're trying to show that we're not super worried about them. But obviously, in the back of our minds, they have beat us once before, and we're not going to let that happen again. Excuse me. And, the most important thing is it's for the belts. The match is for the belts. And I think sometimes that gets lost with a lot of wrestlers. I think they forget that the objective of a match is to win, not to go out there and put on this beautiful display of a performance. You have to subconsciously let the people know that first and foremost, you're trying to win. You're trying to get an advantage. You know what I mean? And I think, as you will see in this match, that's one of the first things that we do. I want to say we can't hear it. It's on mute now, but I want to put over Tom and Corey, man. They are such an underrated what a fucking lockup, dude. They're such an underrated commentary team. They would always take time with me and never got annoyed with me that I had notes and notes and notes about the stories that I wanted to tell, where I wanted to go, false finishes, and how I wanted them to be portrayed. They never, ever got annoyed with me. They actually embraced that, and they loved that. And they were so seamless and so smooth working together, dude. I can't say enough good about that commentary team.
Yeah, there's no predicting how great Corey Graves became at commentating after his career was as a wrestler was cut short. He was great on the Rumble, and he's great every time, and he's very underrated. For
sure. Now there we go. That's the first part of the psychology of the match is me reaching out for the tag. We're wrestling. You know what I'm saying? We're taking our time and we're wrestling, trying to gain an advantage. But as a tag team, the objective, as far as being in a team, is that tag, that you've always got that tag, and you got to put the gimmick of the tag over. And that's what I did. Even in a moment of being down, I go for the tag and I can't reach Cash, but at least the people know that my objective at that point was try to get my fresh partner in the ring. And when you have a tag match is essentially just a gimmick match. You just got to figure out how to work that match differently every time. And the gimmick of the match is the tag, and so you want to get that over at the very beginning, always. And there was a multiple of things that me and Cash do to get that over, whether we make the tag or we tease the tag like we did here. But that's a thing that a lot of people forget about is the tag. You have to put that over, or it essentially becomes two singles matches,
It also comes across from you guys, and something Triple H does well in booking for WWE now is you guys are trying to win. That reaching for the tag is just trying to get that advantage. You're always trying to win.
Absolutely. Trying to gain that advantage. A snatch on the side headlock, dude, executed to perfection. I love the way Tommaso runs me, backs me into the ropes. He puts his whole body in front of me and pushes me there. It's not just that side thing where we shuffle backwards. Now we're wrestling around. I got the chop earlier. He tried the chop and I bailed out like a little bitch ass heel, and he finally gets me back. And now what we have here is him getting me back tenfold. Here comes Cash. He takes one. The referee's with Cash, and something that should be a disqualification where the illegal guy hits me. We created a moment where the referee is with Cash. He doesn't see that. So that's how you make the rules work in your favor, man. You can't just be lazy and say, "Oh, I'm just going to hit you," and not let the ref do anything. You know what I mean? We created a moment there where Cash fed in, took a bump, and the ref's like, "No, the illegal guy, we got to get him out." He tries to get Cash out. Behind his back are these baby faces who are ping ponging me back and forth. And that's how simple it is. You don't have to be lazy and just negate the rules. Use the rules to your advantage. And right now we went to a big high spot before and we slow it right back down. Again, I'm going for the tag. Cash, again, is trying to create a distraction to the referee. The referee is admonishing him. Behind the referee's back, I pull the hair, which is illegal. And so many guys do that, and girls do that in front of the referee, and there's no heat to that. The heat is creating a moment creating a moment where the referee goes with your partner so you can get that shortcut. You can pull his hair and bump him down, you know?
And it's a different style, you know, not to share anybody, but like, that's not Rick Knox in there refereeing. Like, you have a whole different approach in NXT than you do in AEW. Do you not?
Yep. The NXT, they preached, and this is where we kind of learned it from it and got it from, but you had to follow the rules. You had to make the referee mean something, you know, because if you don't, and if you don't listen to the referee, why even tag in and out? You know what I mean? Just do whatever you want. My favorite part so far about the match, aside from using the referee to his full advantage, is the fact that we have not had two singles matches. So many tag matches you see where two guys will start off, then there's a break and they tag out, and then the two other guys. That's two singles matches, but that isn't a true tag team. You know, me and Cash have seamlessly, God, this sounds like I'm putting myself over, and I apologize, but we have seamlessly come in and out with tagging and allow these guys to take back over on us. You know, if we stop them for one moment, and that's all the quote unquote shine is. Like I've said a million times, shine is not a real thing. I'm going to shine you up. But what shine is you put this baby face at a disadvantage just so he has something to overcome. That's it. And he keeps overcoming these obstacles. That's all it is. As you've seen, we've put Johnny down a couple of times and he keeps coming back. He keeps overcoming those obstacles. Just like right here where he slid through my leg, where we tried to double team him. He overcame that. We're going to try to double team him. And then here comes his best friend to save the day. And again, like I've said many times, there's so much power in this hand, putting this hand up and putting on the brakes. You know what I mean? And we try to go fisticuffs with them, but we can't. We can't out wrestle them. We can't out quick them. We can't out fight them. So what does that do? That embarrasses us. They're almost going to hit their finish. They're going for their finish here. But as a chicken shit heel, I have to pull my partner out. And that's how you set the tone and set the mood for who's the baby face and who is the heel. Sacrifice looking cool to make your baby faces.
Gargano with a huge dive to the outside, and Ciampa as well. It just really brings to mind the contrast in styles. Before that sequence, you guys were tagging so often, just many tags. But that particular sequence, because of the slow build at the beginning, now the fans are on their feet.
Right. And if you could see the little nuances of being a tag team, Cash pushed me out of the way. So he sacrificed himself because he loves me so much as a brother, as a partner, as a best friend. He pushed me out of the way and took the brunt of that dive. I did get dove on by Ciampa, but at least he tried to save me. You know, at least the people can think, oh my God, this is a partnership. This is a brotherhood. And again, now here comes the tag. You know what I mean? So the illegal guy is trying to take advantage. Now the legal guy's trying to take advantage. They're trying to catch the number game up. We have 5 seconds, but we've made all this legal by tagging behind his back. You know what I mean?
And you don't see that much. Like, you left the ring, ran around, got back in the ring and tagged. That's not something you see a lot. That's pretty fun.
Absolutely. Obviously, we took that from some parts of Arn and Tully, Arn and Zbyszko, and here's our gear change. We've been embarrassed. We've been, we've gotten the shit kicked out of us. But more than that, more than getting punched or kicked or dove on, they've embarrassed us. They've beat us at every moment. And now we finally use the numbers game to get Ciampa down. And our gear change came in the form of a tag, 5 seconds, all legal, all within the rules. But you think as a fan, come on, guys, did you have to do that? Did you have to punch him for 5 seconds straight? You know what I mean? Then after the gear change, after the shitty cutoff, then we drop our beautiful move, the drop to a hold elbow. We drop to hold that's when we put our synchronized tag move in. The other stuff was all shitty stuff, within the rules, within the parameter of a tag team rules, but we didn't hit our good move, quote unquote, good move, until after we had got the heat on ourselves. That's what heels do. You still show you're a competent wrestler, but you don't show you're a competent wrestler first and then try to eye gouge. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you don't out wrestle out wrestle the baby Tequila, family and wrestling, family Tequila wrestling, whatever the fuck we're called. But, you don't out wrestle the baby face and then cheat. You know what I mean?
Right. You use that advantage to try to win the match after.
And to be honest, if you see the shit we did, nothing we did was cheating. It's just perceived as cheating because we made the tags. We just, maybe took advantage of an opportunity. And here's a hope spot. My favorite part of a tag match that gets overlooked is the hope spot. Instead of having that guy come up, elbow me 3 times, hit the ropes, back elbow, shut him back down, we give him this elaborate hope spot. And if you see everything that happened in that hope spot was nothing was offensive. It was all defensive stuff. His enziguri was a defensive move.
That's classic Revival right there.
Yes, cut him off.
Goes for the tag, and nobody's there.
So we build up all this drama, right, for the tag, and he fights back valiantly from underneath. And then after we shit him out of the tag like a cheap, shitty chicken shit heel, then we hit our big move. Then we hit our beautiful move, the assisted gourd buster. You know what I mean? So it's not just the hope spot isn't a hold, stop him, then hit a move like so many other people do. It's creating these dramatic moments and making the people get behind this valiant babyface who's trying to fight back, who's trying to make a difference in this match and trying to get his best friend and get out of here so his best friend can hopefully win the match for him.
A beautiful gourd buster too. And now you've got Ciampa in trouble. He can't make the tag. The time he tried, he pulled his partner off the apron, and he is in the wrong corner, as we've heard so many times.
And again, here we go. You know, if you look at our matches, the Revival matches, our heat, quote unquote heat, was virtually all hope spots at the perfect time, at the right time. Not just the babyface being up. We had it here where we made the tag work. We made the attempt for the tag, the dramatic part of the match. We're holding on. The babyface still tries to fight back from a defensive position, and then we stop him. You know, the numbers game catches up, and now we're taking more and more advantage, and we're getting more and more control here. But that's the drama, man. It's not the moves. The drama is making the people want something, take it away, but then at the right moment, giving it to them. You know what I mean?
Great shot of Sasha and Becky Lynch watching the match.
Yep, front row.
And it's interesting. People aren't on their feet yet, but they're all kind of leaning forward. They're all leaning forward. They're all clapping. You can tell you guys are building something here.
And here's what Meltzer and a lot of the other Alvarez and all the dirt sheet writers would call a rest hold. It is not a rest hold. Our business is based around holds. The only reason we run high spots is because someone is trying to get out of a hold. That's it. You work the hold. You don't rest. You work the hold. You make it look like you're trying to cut his head off. Again, here we go. Another ref distraction. As you can see, here we go. The backdrop into the false tag, the false hot tag. And so many times, you know what happens. The tag teams, and there we go, real quick. We shitted them out of something, and we're heels, and then hit our beautiful move there. You know what I mean? So that's how you. That's how you.
Shades of Demolition right there.
Yes, yeah. Shades of Demolition, Axe and Smash, where we got our next names from. But, you know, so many times for a false tag, you see it's the easy thing where there's the hold from the heel. The babyface is reaching for the tag. The illegal heel just steps in. The referee goes to him. And then there's the tag behind the referee's back. But you got to create scenarios around each other and around certain movements and moves to make people believe. And they really believed that was the hot tag for a second and a half. They believed it until they realized what had just happened.
Yeah, I mean, your point about this is about holds true, because in real life, you've seen more fights ended with a chin lock than you have with a springboard cutter.
Yes, exactly.
Man, this match is taking off, and Ciampa still has not made the tag. So when he does, it's going to be on. If he does.
I wish right there we had actually kept Ciampa down and not let him like fired up on my forearms. If he would have just sold the whole time and not fired up, this would have meant so much more because it would have come out of nowhere. But here we go. We finally get it, and the people are ready for it.
Ciampa with the tag. Here comes Gargano. House of Fire.
Yeah, House of Fire. And that's the thing is, like, so many people forget a hot tag. The reason it's called a hot tag is because you've been watching your brother, your best friend, your sister, whoever, get the shit kicked out of them for 5, 6, 7 minutes, and you come in and you're ready to pay it all back. So Gargano, who can do, as you can see, all these beautiful moves, he does it. The first thing he did was come in and kick ass. Then he transitioned into beautiful moves.
He's smooth as hell, isn't he?
He's very smooth. Absolutely. Yeah. I also fault him and Sami Zayn for the oh my God expression when people kick out. They started that shit. it was cool when they did it, but now everybody does it. Oh my God, I can't believe it. My hands are going through my hair right now.
Right.
And here we go. He's making his comeback. We cut him off, stop him for just a little second, but he fights off both heels as a valiant babyface would, and he gets the upper hand.
It's a beautiful slingshot through the ropes that he likes to do. Yeah, you guys are really telling the story here. But now Gargano is got the kind of the fans behind him. What do you call this part of a match right here?
I don't know. Well, this is where we start getting to the false finishes, make the people confuse them. Where it's going, what we're going to do, take things away from them they think we're going to get, and here we go. Another numbers game, boom, where we don't just cut the baby face off as great wrestling heels. You know what I mean? We are great wrestling heels, but we use it as a ducking, dodging. Takes two of us to get him down and go for the cover. The fake out DDT, which obviously I stole from my daddy Arn. But that's the beauty of being a heel, is you got to think of creative ways to look competent, but at the same time not make the babyface look less than competent. Here we go. Gargano, Ciampa, the illegal guy, grabs the illegal revival, which is all legal. I try the same thing, but Ciampa has studied me, thought better of it, got his move in. Cash pulls down Gargano, and we build the drama here and make the people believe that this is going to be it, because Cash is being held by the foot, but he finally kicks Gargano off and he makes the save. That point of the match was a Matt Bloom suggestion to hold the foot and reaching for Dan. I'm so glad that I was open to listening to someone who had a great idea.
You may have used it since.
Oh yes. And then here we go. We got the baby face down for a second after that save. Try to double team, but it was thwarted. What a word. By Gargano, the illegal baby face who hit the illegal heel. No illegal has touched a legal in front of the referee.
Oh wow.
And I dare someone to go watch it and prove me wrong. But that's what made the people believe, is that spear from the illegal babyface to the illegal heel, where there was a small package.
And the people are now ready.
They're ready for it. They're standing.
They are into it. There's clapping. You can just tell by looking at the screen. Here we have the head-to-head face-off.
And watch the difference in the selling between the babyface and the heel. Ciampa is being strong as a babyface and taking it, but also selling. Me, I was using my whole body to sell everything and being kind of over dramatic with it. And that's kind of what heels are supposed to do a bit. Oof, and that slap sucked. The people were ready for it. And he fired up at the perfect time, dude. Straight right hand. We're going to go for the shatter machine, but it's countered into a roll up. And I think that's where a lot of wrestlers get lost. They think all false finishes have to be these big, huge bombs. They don't. And here we go. This was my contribution to the match.
They hit their double kick on you, or on Cash in the middle of the ring.
People are so excited, but nope.
Wait a second. That's not the finish. That's not the end of the match. He counted to 3, but he discovered, by the way, sir, great timing on the leg throw over the bottom rope.
Thank you.
The leg was on the bottom rope in split second. Very believable. The timing was impeccable. And now the match continues. And
they double teamed the illegal guy, which is totally fine. That's within the rules. This from the foot on the ropes on was all the brilliance of Hunter. And I can't wait for some of the faithful fans to tag Tony and, rat me out for putting Tony or Hunter over, but this was his brilliance. Obviously, we thought we should win by either a cheap roll up or the shatter machine, but he said, no, I think we break their hearts tonight and we get the finish we get.
Which is a finish we've seen a few times.
Right.
With
Yes.
the FTR and Revival. So now it's you in the ring and you're going for the legs and you hold him down
the stomp.
Cash jumping off.
And he told us whenever he was explaining it to us, he said, everything you do from the foot on the ropes on, we had to accelerate right after the foot on the ropes. But after that, everything he said, take your time on. That's another, lesson that I learned, where a lot of wrestlers say, less is more is more, but taking your time and making every moment, every step, every beat in a match means something. That was the beauty of that last minute and a half of this match.
And that's it. Scott Dawson, our hero, Dax Harwood, gets him in, I guess, the reverse figure 4, right?
Reverse figure 4, inverted figure 4, yep.
Cash is imploring to Gargano while he's in it, just tap out. It's over. Tap out. And eventually, against his best interests, he does. And you guys retain in front of that huge, appreciative crowd.
Yep. And that is a perfect example of losing and getting over. You know what I mean? The sympathy that people had for these guys after the match was over was incredible, and the heat we had, even though the fans were now starting to respect us as wrestlers, the heat that we had for this finish was incredible, which made Toronto, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, made Toronto even more special, and that's what storytelling is all about. It's not always about a definitive 1, 2, 3, or everything has to have a finality. Finality? Yes. Right then and there. Everything, not everything. A lot of things will lead to something later. And that's what this match did, lead to Toronto later.
Because they weren't exactly the most popular tag team. Like, they weren't exactly what you call over at this point until this match. This match really helped them a lot.
And honestly, dude, we weren't over. They weren't over at the end of this match either. They were almost there. They were getting there. I think they got over for the NXT audience. They got over after Toronto. But to be honest, I think after Toronto is when we got over too. But, I think a lot of fans, but also a lot of wrestlers too, misunderstand what being over is. There's moments where you're getting over, and there's times where you're getting over and you feel that momentum. And a lot of wrestlers and a lot of fans too, they confuse that with being over. Being over is when the fans care about you, care about who you are. You know what I mean? That's when you're finally over. So there's a difference between Bret Hart being over in Saskatchewan, Canada in 1992, where he's being respected as a great wrestler when he beat Ric Flair for the belt, and then being over at WrestleMania 10 when he beat Yokozuna for the belt. There's a huge difference there. The people wanted him to win at WrestleMania 10 because they cared about him. They loved him. They missed him being their champion. So that,
And look at the crowd with the appreciation for Gargano and Ciampa. Like, you guys left, you guys posed on the ramp, and then they had the moment. And the crowd, it wasn't forced, it wasn't put upon. The crowd gets their feet, and a huge appreciation. And we appreciate this too. Dax Harwood breaking down the match like nothing I've ever heard. I can just turn off my mic and let you go. Yeah. Is awesome. What do you think about when you think about this match now?
I think, although the matches with Gable and Jordan will go down as some of my favorite, obviously, and will be remembered for a long time for great tag team matches, I think this is where our legacy finally started to build. I think this is where our legacy and the Revival were taken seriously as potentially the best tag team in the world at this time. And it is one of those moments that I can always look back on, and I can say, this is, again, the matches with American Alpha are where we showed our athleticism, how good we were as a working tag team, but this match here and the match in Toronto is where I can say, this is where our legacy begins for being a great tag team, a great storytelling tag team. So I look back on it with a lot of reverence and a lot of love, and I'm so thankful to those guys for wanting to work as hard as we did, and always trying to match us as far as intensity goes, athleticism goes, storytelling. and also wanted to be the best match of the night every single night. And switching gears here, right after this is the match where, I think I told you this earlier, but right after this is where I had the surgery to take out the button in my knee.
Right.
Yep. I'd been asking for that surgery since April. If you watch Dallas, you'll see that match, my knee was taped heavily there. The match that we had with American Alpha at the end, my knee was taped heavily there as well. That was the match where my knee completely locked up until 5 minutes before the match. It finally started moving. And I'd been begging for the surgery to get the clean out. And then they said, okay, well, they kept saying, let's get to this match. Oh, let's get to this match. Let's get to this match. And finally, after this match, I said, look, I can't wait anymore, guys. I've got to have this surgery. So I had a scope on this knee. They found the button in my knee that was causing the issues. It was dislocating my kneecap because it was pushing up on my kneecap while chipping away at the cartilage there, and also getting stuck in the joint space and creating a lock in my knee where it wouldn't go, where it couldn't extend or what is it called? Contract? I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
And then 2 days before Toronto, I finally got cleared. Had one match and then had the match with DIY at Toronto.
In case y'all at home are confused, like a button is some technical medical thing, what he's saying is that they went in his knee and they found a shirt button in his fucking knee. Like,
to be fair, it was a pants button, not a shirt, so it was even bigger.
Yeah.
It was about the size of a quarter. Maybe. Yes, between the size of a quarter and the size of a nickel. Let's put it like that. And it was just, it was in there from a previous surgery. The doctor had left it in there from 2004 or 2003, excuse me. I tore my ACL playing football in high school, and he left the button in there, and the button finally came loose and was just roaming around in my right knee, which is why you see me wearing the knee brace now, because there is literally zero cartilage in there to cause any cushion in the knee. So that brace allows there to be cushion in my knee and upon impact, but also so it doesn't slip.
And you've tweeted that picture of the button before. Guys, we have really enjoyed doing this watch along. We're almost done with the show. Couple more things. We want to make sure you stick around for the non-wrestling question of the week and also the match of the week, but also make sure to check out our YouTube over at watchdax.com. Get us to 20,000 subscribers. We'll do a little bonus over there. Mm-hmm. And also, if you want to advertise, go with advertise with FTR.com. Are you ready for, I have a couple. They're all about food. The non-wrestling question of the week from Twitter, Dax Harwood.
Yes, and I also have one as well that I'd like to get to, cool. But you go ahead.
So I will do a quick one. Best way to cook a steak. Your favorite cut and seasoning.
The best way to cook a steak is, I guess, I would, this maybe goes without saying, but I'd go to a butcher shop and I would get a filet mignon because that's my favorite style of steak. My wife would probably get a New York strip.
Bone-in filet or no bone?
I don't give a damn. Usually it's no bone, but It doesn't matter to me. At this point, for this particular one, I'd say bone-in filet. I'd pick it up, have him wrap it up carefully, throw it in a bag. I'd put it in my car, and then I'd drive it to my dad's house and have my dad cook it. That would be the best way for me to cook it.
Dad, that is the best way to have your food cooked by Dad. You have a question from Twitter, the non-wrestling question of the week. What you got there, Dax Harwood?
Yep, this is from at Old Man Guido, Gweedo. He says, with everything that has happened the last couple of weeks and knowing how much of a family man you are, do you ever feel you aren't doing enough? Something I worry about being a father of 4, hashtag FTR with Dax. Absolutely. I think that every single day that I'm not doing enough as a father. And I only have one kid. So I commend you, dude, for the 4 kids you have, because you're trying to split time between all 4 of them and let them know that each one of them is important. Because for me, I have my daughter upstairs and I feel guilty just for coming downstairs and doing my job here on the podcast because I'm taking time away from her. But all the time at the end of the day, usually whenever my wife and I we always pick a show, and that's our time together is the last hour and a half or 2 hours of our night after we put our daughter to bed. It's our time to relax and hang out, and we watch TV shows. Like right now we're watching Euphoria, and I love that show. Have you seen that show, Matt?
I haven't.
Oh, it's on HBO Max. It's very graphic and sometimes uncomfortably graphic. It's just graphic. I'll say that, but it's about this girl who suffers with drug abuse, and she's in high school. And so the last, like I said, it usually happens at night that I have these thoughts, but I was watching it last night, and this girl relapsed on drugs. And I started thinking, like, did I spend enough time with my daughter today to make sure when she's in high school that this doesn't happen? Not that did I explain to her the realities of drugs, or what they can do to you, or how much of a detriment they could be to your body, or to your mental health, or to your social life, or never did I say, don't ever do that. That wasn't my thought. My thought was, as a man, as a father, did I spend enough time with her where she doesn't have to go and look for cocaine to be the thing that gives her solace, that gives her peace? Am I there enough to give her that peace? And even if I'm not thinking about drugs, I'm thinking about, like, did I spend enough time with my daughter today? Or did I do enough stuff with her today where she doesn't have to get on YouTube and that's where she finds her comfort? Can she say at the end of the day, I found comfort in my dad? That's my biggest question. So yes, man, I think about it every single day. I doubt myself every single day. But all I can say is that every day I try to show up. That's it. You can never be 100%. No one can ever be 100%. My anxiety, I've said it before, has stemmed from sleep, but I found out talking through therapy that the anxiety stemmed further than sleep. It was perfection. I always tried to reach perfection. And when I couldn't reach what I considered quote unquote to be the perfect sleep, that's when I started slipping into anxiety. I tried to be the perfect wrestler. I tried to be the perfect friend. I tried to be the perfect husband, and I tried to be the perfect father. I tried to be the perfect Christian. And none of that is, you can't meet that. You know what I mean? You can never meet that expectation. You can't be perfect. So for me, trying to be a perfect husband, a perfect father, I always tried to do everything to 100%. My therapist told me, you can't always show up at 100%. You can never show up at 100%. And if you think you can, you're just setting yourself up for failure. As long as you show up, that's all that matters. So I hope that helps you, dude. I hope you understand that as long as they see you, all four of them see that you are showing up, that's what matters.
Dax Harwood, do you have a match of the week for our listeners here?
So I can't lie to you. I came unprepared today for match of the week, for a definitive match of the week, because I was busy with my family. Cash and I, which we didn't get into this, but Cash and I went to Lexington this week to see Mark. We wanted to be there for him. I drove 5 hours from my house to be there with him, to let him know we were, those were
the pictures of you and Mark, with the Fightful Awards.
Yep, where we won the Fightful Awards. And unfortunately, as soon as those pictures were taken, I bent down to pick up my other awards, and the Fightful Award fell out of the case and completely shattered into a million pieces. So luckily, Cash gave me his, which I have displayed up here right now. And great guy Sean Ross Sapp is having Cash another one being made right now. But yes, so I was in Lexington, and then I came home, hung out with the family. My wife and I had a date night last night, 2 nights ago. And today I watched the whole NXT TakeOver event. But coming up with a match of the week is so easy for me, because I am such a fucking wrestling nerd that it makes me sick, almost vomiting right here.
I was going to say, yeah, go ahead.
In all the episodes that we've had, did you know that I haven't produced a Bret Hart match yet?
Not yet. Not a Bret Hart match yet.
So I'm going to do that today. And my Bret Hart match today is Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. But it's not the SummerSlam match that everyone raves about. And that one's incredible too. This is my personal favorite match they had, was the King of the Ring 1993 match. And this was one of the 3 matches that made me fall in love with wrestling and made me decide that's what I want to do for a living. The storytelling is beyond beautiful in this match. These 2 guys had to toe a very careful line. 2 baby faces, right? One, the perennial baby face in Bret Hart, and Mr. Perfect, who had just turned babyface at the previous Survivor Series with Macho Man Randy Savage. So they had to toe this careful line where Perfect couldn't lean too much into being a heel because the people might turn on him, and they could and they couldn't lose faith in Bret as their perennial babyface, because that's who the babyface the company was going to go with, because Hogan's leaving coming up. The match is so beautifully told, so beautifully paced. They pick up where they pick up the spots when they need to. They bring it back down to get the fans involved so the fans can register what's happening. It's such a masterclass in selling from both guys. Bret, the most underrated seller ever, I think, because he sold so realistically, and it wasn't an over-the-top babyface sell that sometimes people forget how great of a seller he was. But then on top of that, the forearms and the punches and the lifters that these guys were giving each other, and the chops that Perfect was giving Bret, so physical, so tight. It just one of the that's one match I probably could watch every single day and not get tired of it.
And that's Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at King of the Ring 93.
Yep, King of the Ring 93. And Bret does something in that match. He makes his comeback, and then he starts working on the leg after his comeback. Something a lot of baby faces, probably myself included, are afraid to do because we'd be afraid to, quote unquote, lose the fans. Right. Bret was so secure in his work, so secure in his abilities, and so secure in the fact that he knew he could get them back anytime he wanted to. He did that there, and it's a beautiful piece of work, dude.
Well, I got to tell you, Dax, time just flies when we record. It just goes by. I've had other podcasts where sometimes it's a little bit of a chore, but this one just goes by. And we want to thank everybody for listening and all the support, taking us to a lot of success very early on. If you want to help us out some more, leave us a 5-star review. Of course, go to the YouTube, subscribe. I'm subscribed to so much stupid crap. I'm sure you can afford one more click over at watchdax.com. And, of course, advertise with us at advertisewithftr.com. Dax, any parting words about NXT 2 TakeOver, DIY, yourself, or anything else before we say goodbye this week?
The only parting words I have, maybe not about NXT Brooklyn 2, is that you guys' 5-star review for this podcast is the only 5-star review I give a shit about. So I appreciate you guys, the love and support that you've shown myself and Matt too, and the downloads that we've gotten. I cannot believe, dude. I'm sure you do check the rankings quite often, and we are more often than not #1 podcast, a wrestling podcast in the world. And I cannot believe that. And I hope the fans know that I am forever, forever, forever grateful for them showing us that support. I'm not too cool. I'm not too badass to be that guy who's afraid to express how much I love and admire the fans, because without them, I'm doing none of this. So I appreciate them.
We'll see you next week on FTR with Dax Harwood.
All right, by now, guys, I love talking about old wrestling. What you might not know is it's not my real passion. My real passion is helping people save money. My real passion is getting families out of apartments and into houses. My real passion is getting people's finances aligned so they can retire on time. I hated going to Walmart and seeing the greeter being 80 years old. She should not be working. She should be home. Why is she still working? Because she still has a mortgage. I want to help avoid that for you. The other thing I want to help you with, let's make sure your kids don't get saddled with student loans. If you've got a student loan, why did you get one? Maybe because your parents still had a mortgage. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm being sincere. There's only so much money to go around. What I want to help you do is figure out where you are right now and where you want to be long term. And I do it at SaveWithConrad.com. I've been doing mortgages for more than 20 years, and during all that time, we've helped tens of thousands of families change their life. I mean, routinely, we're helping our podcast listeners save $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But more importantly, get them out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. But if you don't think it can happen for you, let me just tell you this. We are not the bank. We don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a game plan on how to improve your credit, how to save a little bit of cash, and how to get into that dream house. Maybe you're already in the house, but it would be nice if someday we could put a pool in the back, or one day we want to upgrade to hardwood floors, or remodel the kitchen, or get a badass master bathroom. I can help you do all of that with no money out of pocket right now at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. Check it out, SaveWithConrad.com, NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. And hey, y'all, don't take my word for it. Check us out. We've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And as if that's not enough, go look at our reviews. Read them and weep, haters. ConradReviews.com. You'll see more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Our average review is 4.72 stars. Find out how much money you can save. Take control of your life in 2023 by taking control of your finances. We're going to show you how to keep more of your own money. If you've got credit card debt, what are you paying on that? 14%? 28%? You know you can do better. With the mortgage, though, you may not know this, the interest you pay is tax deductible. And we can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. So if you can get a lower monthly payment, pay your debt off faster, get a greater tax deduction at the end of the year, and right now, right after the holidays, skip your next 2 payments, buddy, this is the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com, or hey man, shoot me an email directly, Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com.